this blessing that we send out to the world. This blessing that we open our hearts right now and recognize the glory, the good. Recognize the good of God. Recognizing that this good is always good. Even when we don't know, the good of God is at hand and unfolding. So we breathe into that. And we release this breath of love out into the universe. Right now, see your very breath twinkling with lights and blessing with good. Blessing all the good that there is. Arms open wide, heart open, breath, breathing of God, breathing love out into the world and recognizing that good is happening right now. All good, holy, holy. All good, holy, holy. All in my mind, in my heart, in my soul. Let me know all is good, holy, holy. Just take that in. All love, holy, holy. All love, holy, holy. All in my mind, in my heart, in my soul. Let me know all is love, holy, holy. All good, holy, holy. All good, holy, holy. All in my mind, in my heart, in my soul. Let me know all is good, holy, holy. Thank you, Linda. Linda Ely, Linda L. in the house. And absolutely my lovely Dormini back there giving the high fives. And Sarah, whoop, whoop. Thank you for joining Awakening Wednesday. We're here every Wednesday, and every first and third Wednesday is Kitchen Conversations. And boy, do we have a great one for you today. Kitchen Conversations is, oh, don't stop our theme song. That's our theme song. None of us are free. Kitchen Conversations is about a panel of black people, black folks. We're looking for new words now. We're looking for new ways to express ourselves. It's about people living here in America that have been treated unjustly. For you to experience their experiences and also for each of us to be able to have our own healing place. And so every first and third Wednesday, Kitchen Conversations, you got to join us. And then Awakening Wednesday, every second, fourth, and sometimes fifth Wednesday of the month. We have different processes. We have meditation, and we have a lot of different hosts and guests, that come on the gathering. So I'm so glad you're here today. Whether you're in right now on this Wednesday or you're looking at a recording, we're glad that you're here with us. My name is Gino. I am the music director at Universal Spirit Center. And you know what I know? That all of us, we're everyday people. That everybody is connected. That there is this oneness. And this is coming up right here and now. So a lot of songs that were back in the 60s and the 70s, they're really the ones right now. They tell a story that they told then that we thought we had overcome, but we have not. Sometimes I'm right, but I can be wrong. My beliefs are in my soul. A butcher, a banker, a drummer, and then makes no difference what group I'm in. I am everyday people. Like the yellow one that doesn't like the brown one that doesn't like the big one. Different strokes for different folks. So on and so on and we are to live together. I am no better and neither are you. The same whatever we do. You love me, then hate me, think that I'm wrong. Makes no difference what in your song. I am everyday people. Yeah. There is the white one that doesn't like the black one. The black one doesn't like the brown one. The brown one doesn't like the yellow one. Different strokes for different folks. So on and so on and skibba-dabba-dabba-boo-boo-boo. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We are to live together. We are to live together. We are to live together. Slide in the Family Stone. Love them. And then Aretha Franklin did a version of it too. Fantastic. Great music. Lasts the test of time. So today, are you black, are you white, or both? One of the kind of forbidden conversations. And it is as much a part of the racist stories going on here in America and across the land. Because we so want to identify with a person by the color of their skin. And maybe we can move up and move out to find another way to recognize a person for the character of who they are, for the person that they're being. So I want to take you on a little journey. Check this video out. The Imitation of Life. This 1959 tearjerker, based on a Fannie Hurst novel and a remake of a 1934 film, tells the story of a struggling white actress, her rise to stardom, her friendship with a black woman whose fair-skinned daughter can pass for white, her daughter's struggle with her identity and yearning to live life as a white woman, letting go of her mother and anyone and anything black. There were many black slaves fathered by our white slave owners. born with blue eyes, blonde hair, and fair skinned, choosing to live life as white, forsaking their true identity and their families. The gene pool of our ancestors cannot be denied. We see families giving birth to black and white twins, fathered by the same mother and father. Our ancestors are speaking loud and clear. I am black. Those that look white, but their birth certificate states a Negro. We are a country. We are a global community calling for new awareness, for peace, for humanity, for equality, for love. Beth Ann Snugs. Beth Ann, how are you?
I am so great, really great.
Welcome to Kitchen Conversations.
Thank you.
This
And
is
thank you
a
for the whole opening of our time together. It was so perfect, so perfect. Thank you.
It is my pleasure and truly a pleasure to be here with you in this way. I have to say, I was really nervous to go down this road because it has a lot of twists and turns. And so, from the video I tried to capture early on, um, that movie, the Imitation of Life, was it was a social event because it said it out
Yeah.
loud that there were blacks pretending to be white that would totally leave their families. So your journey has been different, and I don't want to start
Yes.
at the end. I want to start at the beginning. Um, on your journey, did you start out as a white woman?
No, I have always identified as black. Remembering I was born 1944. So there already was in the world, if you've got a drop of black, you're black, and that worked very well for me. The problem was I didn't look black, and it made a very lonely path for me. It's like I didn't quite know, where do you belong? Where do I belong? Well, I'm here and this is my family, but why are people relating to me like I'm not that?
And because I've known you for a while, and when you said you identified as black, I thought, okay, she's got love for the black people. I feel you. I got love. But I was like, no, she's not black. Now there are some people that I've seen that are like, oh, you see the white lady over there, and I'm like, no, she got some sister in her. But for you, I never had that thought whatsoever. So the world had to be treating you white.
Yes. Well, some of the world treated me as white, but it was being treated as black, being around white people who would say outrageous things, not knowing I was black. And then, of course, I'm a New Yorker, so I was very thrilled to say, oh, by the way, I'm black. but it was difficult on both sides of it for me because I grew up in a this is amazing in New York in a town or on a street that was black, Italian, and Puerto Rican.
Mm. Wow.
And you couldn't quite tell who was who, but you knew by the parents who was who.
So, as a kid, like you said, in the 40s, I mean, racism was much more in your face. What type of
All the
school
time.
did you go to? Because you were in the middle. I
I
guess
went
black people said you weren't black enough. And then if white people discovered that you said you were black, they didn't want to have anything to do with you either.
exactly. It's like who's gonna take me out first? And I went to a reasonable integrated school
Okay.
all of my life. And it was always that question, well, what are you? And
Mm.
I never really knew how to answer that except to say, well, I'm a white black girl.
I bet that went
And
over well.
oh, whoo, tell you what, it was awesome. And the family that raised me was not my birth mother. It was my birth mother's cousin and
Oh.
her mother. And her mother looked white. And the woman who raised me definitely did not look white, but had everything that white was about and wanted me to be white. And that was probably our biggest problem because I didn't want to be white because I didn't like the kind of discrimination that was there. And so, it's like, okay. And she'd be really angry, like, it's important that you learn. So I grew up learning about how to be white
Hmm.
and never offered up that I was white.
That has to be really challenging, especially as a
Yeah.
kid, to be that headstrong. Um, there were so many because life would be easier. The very fair skinned blacks that definitely had a lot of different gene pool, a lot of European in the gene pool.
Yeah.
It made life much easier. They just had to totally forget their family. There was no
Yeah.
visits, there was no seeing the grandkids or anything like that. And so for you to be that determined that you were black, how did you find out that you were black? I mean, um,
Uh, Everybody told me I was in the neighborhood and I lived in a black home.
mm,
So it was clear, even though the one I called my grandmother was probably just as confusing for people as I was.
so she was very fair skinned as well.
Oh, absolutely. Whiter than me.
Wow. And now, with your friends, did you have some white friends, some Puerto Rican friends, some black friends, or did your family try to really steer you to only hang out with white kids?
I was steered more to hang out with white kids, and I did both. And what I experienced was I had a harder time in the black community than I did in the white community.
Mm, mm,
It was so difficult because in it was that time looking white was not like, oh, you think you're a hot shit and better, that kind of stuff.
right.
So it was easier for me to be around white peers than it was for me to be around black. And I tried several times to be because I liked I like the culture,
Okay. What?
because my experience was being black was this very real. Being white was like living up to something.
Mm,
And every summer, I was sent to what we called the country in Connecticut, which was my natural grandparents' home. And I knew they were my family, and all of my family were black,
really?
except for a few like me.
Now, how did your
It's like,
siblings treat you? Did they treat you as
well,
a
I
sibling
didn't
or?
know. When my mom had to give me up when I was born, they had no idea that I was a sister. And I did not have any idea until I was 18 who my real mother was.
Wow.
And it's when I went for my driver's license and I had to have my birth certificate that I saw that I was a Gregory and not a Suggs, and who my mother was.
Really?
Yeah, so I didn't have any idea until 17, 18. And then I didn't even put it all together, even though I saw her at my grandparents' home and all of her kids. But there was no relationship like sibling.
Oh, so did your mom recognize you as one of her children, or did she just treat you as um,
She treated me as, a niece, because
wow?
all of them were aunts, including my mother. She was Aunt Ruth.
Right. Right. And what about your father? What about your relationship with your father's side? I'm assuming your dad was white?
I'm assuming he was white, and I have no idea because I never knew him. No one would ever tell me about him. I just figured it out. It's like, okay, something happened.
Yeah. Correct.
And I happened for my mother, and at that time, she gave me up within the family.
Yes. During that time or during those times, when a family member was pregnant and maybe in different situations, not the beautiful
Right?
pregnancy. Um, a lot of times they would give the children to a
Yes.
sister maybe who couldn't have kids or to an
Yes. Exactly.
uncle. And so you find the situation going back a little bit that I remember as a kid growing up, we had Darlene in our class, and Darlene was biracial and was fighting with everything in her might to be black. And it was a feeling for most of us black kids that it was like, really, you want to try to be what we live? Because she had blonde hair, blue eyes. She was extremely, as she's gotten older, her pigment has gotten a little darker. But when she was in grade school and high school, she looked like a blonde-eyed, blue white girl. And so it was
Right.
kind of an insult that now you want to be black. And so
Right.
she would try with the mannerisms, which was really insulting. And it's one of those things. Yeah, because she would try to talk like black people and do the hangout, and we pushed her away. And there are times that I felt really bad about that. But once I got older, once I had a greater understanding that had to be a hell of a place to be in. There were very few white people in our neighborhood, and she didn't like hanging out with them. The black kids didn't really care about hanging out with her. And so you have a mother and father that, I'm sure they loved each other, but now you have a child that doesn't have any guidance. So I could
That's
understand
right.
your family saying, look, pick a side, and since you look white, be white.
Yeah.
Because the other side of that, there's so much pain with that. When you look back at slavery, the separation of putting the darker skinned blacks out in the field and the
Right.
light skin in the house, which is where a lot of our line was broken because of so many masters that were raping and having fathered
Yeah.
children. So when you find out that your mom is someone that you've been seeing, it's like, hey, how you doing? what what steps do you take at that point? What do you do? Do you go and talk to her? Do you act like, well, because when secrets come out like that, it's hard to put it back in the canon.
Yeah, it is. And it was the thing for me about it was I respected, as much as I could understand, I respected the secret. And I never, for that, up until I was, when I left for ministerial school, when I was 38, is when I finally said I'd like to meet her and just talk with her. But from 16 to 38, it was like, okay, I'm a secret. I get it. And so what am I going to do? And I saw when I started high school that it was easier for me to be around being in white culture than it was for me to be in the black culture, even though I grew up in the black culture. But by the time I got to high school, it was more like, okay, 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 the things that I'm interested in, then this is where I'm going to hang out. And I really didn't get how I've always lived with the horror of not being able to really have a place, a tribe, you know. And my
Yes.
first very serious boyfriend was Italian. And his mom knew that I was black and came to my house and told my grandmother that I needed to stay away from her son. And of course, my grandmother was so great. She said, look, honey, your son comes to our house. Our kid does not go to your house. And it was my first real heartbreak, going into high school. It's like, holy cow, this is worse than I even thought it was because it was so harsh.
So
But
in
it was
high
just easier.
I would imagine it would definitely have to be easier, and especially during that time, um,
Yeah,
like the Italian mother coming over, in essence saying, "I don't want this black girl around my son." I'm sure
yeah,
she may have said other words, but that's one of the things which I can understand your family saying. Just pick the side that's going to be easiest for you. I remember the scene of watching The Imitation of Life because her mother was very dark. Her mother was brown, and she was very fair skinned like you and could pass for white. And so
yeah,
she hated that her mother was black, hated the color, and there was so much turmoil within herself. And we find that because the separation, when you even look back in the slavery days, we were pitted against one another. So
yeah,
the darker skinned slaves worked harder, out in the sun all day, didn't get the treats that the fair skin did. And, most of them got to travel with their slave master. So this line of our own prejudice against ourselves with the hair, with the
yeah,
lips, with the nose. And the nose is one of the key things that people look at to determine if you are a person of color or if you're black. So in high school, did you find that more people were finding your secret out and you were trying to hide it or trying to figure out what to do with it?
I was more about I don't know what to do about it. Those that I was close to in school, I always told them that I was black, and I did that because I did not want to experience them not knowing and saying things that would hurt my heart. And what
Oh,
I noticed is a lot of them were a little different with me. You know, they were being very mindful. And one thing I remembered, I went to my 50th high school reunion a few years back, and I remember one of my friends saying to me, I had my hair cut, and I'd had it done at at a black parlor,
okay.
and she straightened my hair, which I had never ever had done. And I remember one of my friends saying to me, "Oh, good, you now look like us."
Wow.
And that was the end of that one for me. It's like, oh, wait a second, you're asking me to make believe. The, the pain was not having a place where I belonged. I had great friends, but I didn't belong. I didn't belong in their community, and I didn't belong in the black community.
Correct.
And it was so lonely, so lonely. It's like, well, where do I belong? And the only time I experienced belonging was when I was with my family, because when I went to Connecticut, that was my family.
Hmm.
There were enough, there were at least three of my cousins who looked like me, and everybody else that looked, and it was like great, because here I'm just me.
Right. Right. You didn't have to
I'm
fight to.
not this and I'm not that,
Right.
and I'm not even both. I'm just, hey, here I'm me.
So from 16 to mid 30s, you said, okay, I'm a secret. I'll deal with it. I'll take life as it is. What
Yeah.
inspired you to want to have a conversation with your mom then?
I think it's because I saw that being a unity minister, that the God was the same, and I grew up in the culture in which God was white and up in the sky, and you know what I'm saying, and finding that that isn't how it is. How it really is that presence. And I felt that I knew I was being called to it, and I knew that it was incomplete.
Hmm.
That not having really done anything about what I knew was too incomplete. And my aunt, who was my birth mother's sister, she and I were very, very close. And I told her, before I leave, I really need to meet her as my mother.
I bet that was big for the family, for
Oh,
everybody to have to try to digest.
yeah.
Be-
And uh, a lot of because they were nine kids in my birth mother's family, and some of them were very, very angry at her for breaking the secret.
mm. And now,
And
how
there
many?
was a lot of anger.
A lot of anger. I would imagine so, that
Yeah,
some angry about the secret, some angry that the secret was kept for so long. A lot of
yeah,
families back then, I mean, I know in my family, um, I called her my Aunt Dolores forever But I think I found out somewhere in my 30s that she was really a cousin that, um, it gets so crazed because I think they always had the right intentions. Family wanted to take care of family. And something had happened
Yeah,
to my Aunt Dolores' mother. And so my grandmother took her in. So she became my aunt, like my Aunt Rena, like my grandmother
yeah,
gave birth to her. But, I
yeah,
find out one day in the kitchen with green tomatoes, she's cooking green tomatoes. And you often wonder, why do you get inspired to tell me now?
yeah,
And I never forget, we were having green tomatoes. She made the best green tomatoes. And she
yeah,
starts to tell me about her mother, which I'd never heard stories of, which was my grandmother's sister. So I can imagine the anger with a child that has been raised by another sibling but kept secret from everyone.
yeah.
How many brothers and sisters do you have?
I am the oldest of 13.
What?
Yes, I was raised as an only child,
Oh my
and
goodness.
uh, it's been now 15 years, one of my brothers was interviewing one of my aunts, and she said, "Look, I'm not going to the grave without telling you that you have a sister that you don't
Wow.
know about." And he was so great because he called me and he said, "Does the name Peter Clark mean anything to you?" And I'm like, "No." But he called me Chi Chi, which was my nickname growing up.
What was
And
your
I
nickname?
thought, Chi Chi,
Now that's a black
go
nickname.
figure. Yeah,
Chi Chi, that's a black nickname. I'm just
yeah,
gonna say it.
yeah. Thank you, thank you. But when he said that, I thought he was someone that knew the mother that raised me
Mm.
and didn't know that she had passed. And he said, "Well, I'm your brother."
He
And
just came
I
out with it.
don't know. Yeah, he just said, I'm your brother. And, Aunt Henny told me, and I just sort of froze with the phone. And so the family said, "We'd like you to come back to Connecticut so that we can meet you." And three of my sisters flew out to California because they knew coming into the Clark family, because they were all Clarks,
Okay.
would probably be devastating because it's a very alive, experience. Everybody talks. It's a very, very black environment in the best way possible. So they came to kind of soften it for me, uh, and I remember them picking me up at the airport, and I called home, and I couldn't go out of the baggage place because it was too scary. But they were very clever. They bought my Aunt Bert with me, with them, so that when I opened the door, I would see her. And Nancy, my partner, said, "Go pick up your luggage. Now walk over to the door, put your hand on the handle, open the door." And there they were. And my first weekend with them, we had dinner. We spent a day and had dinner, just the 13 of us.
Mm.
And then the next day, it was all the spouses. And then on the third day, it was everybody. And I had never, ever, ever been with my whole family.
I
And they have been a gift.
That had to be overwhelming. I think we have a
Yeah.
picture of your family at the dinner table. If I can get
Yes.
Darmini to put that up. Beautiful family.
White.
Beautiful family.
Oh, just, and they have been so loving. they have treated me like I am the oldest sister, because I am.
I guess that's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, it's good. Well, between all of them and you and me, I was had a moment of I'm really grateful that I didn't grow up being the oldest girl. I'm okay with I was raised as an only child, and I love being the oldest of 13 because they're always like, "Well, you're the elder here." And they treat me in that way. Like when our mom died, and we had the funeral, they were, and you go down first
Okay.
because you're the oldest. They have been
Yes.
just. I love them, and I know they love me. And for my 60th birthday, Gino, they gave me 60 birthday presents for all the years that we
Oh,
weren't together. Yeah.
how beautiful is that? Oh my goodness. You know, all of this fighting that we do about a person's color of their skin, understandably, there was the young Beth Ann that was like, I'm black, but over a period of time, family looking out for your best interests. Also, it's an easier life. We're honest.
There's
It's
no
an
doubt about it.
easier life being white. Doesn't make it right,
Yes.
but it's an easier life. And your family,
It comes with some privilege.
yes, comes with a lot of privilege because the world does see you, for the most part, I would imagine, as white.
Yeah.
And so to be embraced by your family, that this love, and it's often been said about black people, our hearts of love is so huge because with all of the years of all of the stuff, we could easily hate everybody white. But that is not anything that's a part of our makeup. We still love. We love no matter what. And also because we know that we're all one. We're all one. But I want to find out what happened when you talked with your mom.
It was so great. I didn't have the maturity or the sense. This is my one and only regret to say, so tell me, what's our story?
Mm.
Uh, it was more like her asking me about what my life was like, and her telling me about some of my brothers and sisters. But I didn't have it in me. I was so happy to finally have her look at me like she was my mother
Mm.
and to hug me. I was so in my heart with at last I'm being treated like a daughter with her that I didn't, it's like, why didn't you ask her about, your dad? Why didn't you ask her? And it's like, I didn't want to do anything to disrupt the experience of she is acknowledging me as her daughter. And for me, that was the biggest thing, much more so than knowing my story. And I regret that I didn't say at some point, tell me, what is our story? What
It's
is
not
our
all it's
story?
cracked up to be. We are the,
Yeah,
a lot of times we want to know, and then when we find out, our hearts are broken even more so. So
yeah,
it was
exactly.
probably for the best
Yeah.
that your heart was so open to receive her. Now, how did that play in the dynamics with your mom who raised you? Were they on speaking terms? Were they able to?
No.
Yeah.
For the mother that raised me, it was very difficult for her to really see that I was in a relationship with my birth mother. The one good time is when after I was ordained and I returned to New York, my aunt had a gathering of, my mom and a couple of my aunts and the mother that raised me, and we all were together. And it's the first time that I was sitting with two moms. The mom that birthed me and the mom who raised me, who
Yes.
I loved. But I never ever called her mom. There was never like, oh, she's my mom, so I call her mom. It was never like that. It was more like, this is Dolly and she's my mother.
Oh, okay.
It never even dawned on me that I'm saying this is my mother, but I never called her mother.
Well, I mean, it's understandable in a sense the journey
Yeah.
that was taken, and I'm also wondering that your mom that raised you, because she did choose to live as white, did she separate herself from the other parts of her family?
Um, no, because she really couldn't, because she couldn't pass for white.
Ah,
You, it's that her mother looked white, and her grandmother was white.
okay.
So my great grandmother was white, and but she wanted that for me. She
Did
wanted that for me a lot.
yeah, a lot. Did she ever get you've seen just even recently in 2018, a black mother was stopped because she had what appeared to be a white child. And someone questioned her on the street, what are you
Oh
doing with
God.
this child? And she was like, none of your business. This is my child. And they called the police. And the cops came and stopped the black mother. This is how crazy we get. And questioned her. They took her down to the precinct. This was in New York
Oh my
City.
God.
Yeah. Amazing that they would take this woman through this, that she needed to verify who she was. And the white woman that called, nothing was asked of her. She didn't have to verify what gives you the right to think that
Right.
this woman is not. Did your mom ever have any situations like that with you?
No, no, not that I know of. You know, uh, she didn't move in a lot of social circles anyway, so that there wasn't a whole lot of it. The only thing was that she went to a very white church and took me to a very white church. Right? And so there was the only environment where something like that came on, and I have no recall of the way people responded to me. It's like, oh, I'm going to church, and church is, great.
So, what did you grow up? What was your religion growing up?
I grew Episcopalian,
Ah, okay.
uh,
There was some.
and
There was
I
some.
couldn't quite reckon with it in the way that it was. So when I hit my 20s, I sort of stopped. It's like, this is not for me. This is not for me. And it was, the truth is, it was too white. You know what I'm saying? It's like, this is just not working for me. It's like, I know that I should be able to fit in, but I couldn't fit in at all. And fitting in was my life. Just find some place where I can put my feet down and say, okay, I fit here.
Well, so with that, let me ask you: after you met your mom, how long after that did you meet your brothers and sisters?
Oh God, let's see. Um, about 15 years later.
Really?
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
they did. It's been harder for them because their experience with their parents, our mom and their dad, was family was the center of her life. and her kids were the center of her life, and they had a very difficult time with their opinion that her parents made her give me up. And do you know what I'm saying? And that
Yes.
that was wrong. And but I had been through enough therapy about all of that. But like my youngest sister, who her birthday is the same as mine. She's the youngest.
Oh.
And
Oh.
she said to me, now she said, now I understand why my birthday was not ever really celebrated as her
Mm.
birthday, but mixed in with another sister there were three of them born in December. But she and I have the same birthday, and it's like for her, oh, I get it now.
I'm
I get
sure
it
there
now.
were, for the whole family, there had to be a lot of answers that came. Having, secrets like this, they come out. And you hope most of the time they come out before the mother or the father has made their transition. How did you get along with, he would be your stepdad? Was he still alive? Did,
He was, but I did not know him. Even though my brother called him and said, "Is it true that we have a
mm,
sister?" And and at that time their parents were divorced,
okay.
and he said, "Yes, it's true."
So he knew about you as
So
well.
yeah, oh yeah, he did. He did, but he was my Uncle Hayward when I was a child, and but I didn't really have any relationship with him at all. So he was still alive when they found me. My mom by then had Alzheimer's,
Mm,
so I'm grateful for that because I think she would have had a difficult time with, what is she going to say to the other 12 kids?
right.
Like, yeah, this is my oldest daughter and I kept her a secret.
Yeah. And never
You know,
knowing what was her story, what was the experience, it I'm sure it made it easier for the kids to come together. Um,
yeah,
Even when, kids outside of the family, that always brings a different type of feeling for the kids that are with the mother and the father.
yeah,
It's just a different experience. So
very.
your heart is very open because so many people would have had a lot of anger and hatred and may not even wanted to. you i I don't want to have anything to do with any black people. How did you keep your heart open?
Because never having family, this was my first opportunity to be a member of a family that I really was a member of the
Mm,
family. And having that was probably like, I would say, after almost 60 years, the biggest thing I wanted my whole life was to have family because I knew who I was living with, that somehow they were kind of family, but they weren't my family.
right.
And when my siblings opened their hearts to me, it was like, this is the best thing that could have ever happened for me to
I think we
be,
have
like,
another picture of you and your siblings. Can we take that off? Can you take off the logo? And I see you there, Beth Ann.
and the sister that I was talking about that has the same birthday in me, she's the one standing right in front of me, and she is so God centered. She is so gospel centered. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's tremendous for me to be in the environment that I love being in. I love the love that radiates. You know, I watch them and, you know, they bicker with such love.
Mm, yes.
Do you know what I'm saying? And I'm not excluded from any of it.
That's
You know,
really beautiful and so powerful
yeah,
because being in this space where you are always in the middle, and there's so
yeah,
many of our beautiful biracial, multicultural, multi racial families that they're just in the middle. I'm a
yep,
huge sports fan, and I remember when Tiger Woods gave himself a name. He said, "I'm a combination black or something," and Black America lost their mind. They lost their mind, and
yeah.
he's not that. He's a black man. I was like, but his mother is Asian. Do we just disregard her? Does she not count?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And so there's this two-headed thing that as we grow in this new awareness that's coming, this new world that's coming, you know, being able to understand that all different groups and cultures mixing and mingling together, we don't have to label somebody.
Exactly.
You know, it'd be
Exactly.
great if we don't have to label, oh, you see the black girl over there with the da 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 da, or the white girl with the blonde hair over there. If we can find other ways to describe
Yes.
a person that, because when you run into someone that is biracial,
Yeah.
and especially little kids when they're little, the family that loves all both of them sometimes is limited because some of the other families are pissed off that they're talking about how hard it's going to be for their life, and they're part of the problem. They're part of the
Yeah.
problem. I'm sure you found in your family that the separation that was created, that almost in a sense you couldn't go any other place but be white, but move in that arena because this over here was taboo. It was taboo for you.
Yeah, it was. And, you know, I'm listening to what you're saying. And, you know, one of the things that is new for me in this last few months is I have never identified as biracial.
Mm.
And it's so interesting because it feels like I'm I'm more me uh, with that. And up until this year, I mean, it's not like I don't know that I'm biracial, but I never claimed it. I never said, "Oh, I'm biracial." I always said I'm black.
Which startled
And
some people,
biracial,
I'm sure.
oh, you bet. And biracial is like so scary. You know, it's like, well, what does that even mean? And I appreciate what you're saying. I'm biracial is far more in our world now than ever, and there has to be a way to talk about that and identify it. Where we're living in a culture, you got to choose.
Exactly, where we don't have to choose one
Where we
one
don't have to
family
choose.
history or another family history.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly, exactly.
Definitely back in the 40s and the 50s, as you said, if you had 1% of black in you, you were black. There was no
That's right.
biracial. Um,
No,
and people hid that. In the opening slides, I had pictures of of actors that could go either way. And I remember
Yeah.
when the story hit about Carl Channing, and it was, yeah, it was a big story because for
Yeah.
years, I mean,
No one knew.
no one knew. And
Yeah.
at 80, she felt it was safe enough to say at that time, yes, my dad, he wasn't black, he was biracial.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show the fear. It's
Yeah.
inconceivable to think that slave masters courted, raped, loved black women, and they had
Yeah.
babies. And there was another statistic that I saw that it said most most Americans that say they're white only or black only, all have ancestors of either black or indigenous people.
Yeah.
It's just hard to conceive this purity thing that so many people think that they are, or that they point to, and then they call people mutts. There was a beautiful story about this couple that had twins, and I showed their picture.
Mm.
These twins, some of the other twins, as they got older, I could kind of start to see the color. But the last picture of the two girls, she's a redhead with blue eyes. And her sister, they're twins. Same mother, same father. And it's like mind blowing. But our gene pool, it's all mixed in there together. It's
Yeah.
all hooked in there together. So I'm sure that with your brothers and sisters, age has a way of bringing tenderness and kindness into our
Yeah.
hearts, and forgiveness. It also has a way of bringing understanding. What was your first conversation like with your brothers and sisters?
Oh gosh. Hmm. I think the first, well, if you knew them, they started with, "This is wrong." So we didn't do, I don't remember us ever doing, "Let's get to know each other" small talk.
Mm.
It was, "This is wrong, and what they did and made mom do was wrong." So it started right at their upset that they could have a sister that they knew nothing about. So we kind of jumped right in. The only thing, and the hardest, I believe, the hardest thing for them was knowing, finding out that our mom had come to see me. And actually, the picture I have of her, she gave me when I was ordained, and it's the same picture they all have.
Oh, wow. So she was
So
still holding the secret.
she kept the secret,
She
and they
kept the
were
secret.
they there was an upset about that because when my three sisters came out, they saw our mom's picture hanging on my wall,
Mm.
and it was like, "Oh, hey, we all have that picture."
How'd you get it?
And it's like, she gave it to me. What? So I think that was a little difficult for them to know that she and I had made contact,
Hmm.
and that nothing got fixed.
Well, now, did any of your siblings look at you as being white or biracial, or did they just look at you as like you're a sister? Were there some that had the color?
No, because in our big family, there's a whole lot of kids like me. I just happen to be the oldest of all the cousins, and so I'm the oldest, so I'm the first. But there are just as many more of my cousins and stuff that are just like me, including one of my brothers uh, married a white woman, and they have a child that looks as white as I am, and and he has a son that is a beautiful dark skin. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's not weird.
Good. That's
It's
good.
not weird because it's so in the family. It's just the upset that why didn't she tell us this after you made contact with each other? Why didn't she do something about that? And it's like, well, a secret, when it's being held by a family as a secret, it's hard. I have this is the hardest part. I have two cousins who look exactly like me, and they are asking their mom, "What's the story?" And
Mm,
she's keeping it a secret because that's what you do.
yeah, yeah. And
So it's the secret part that got in the way, or that was our very first conversation and continues to be.
I think sometimes the secret is so painful
Yes.
for the ones that are still alive, and also the pain of dealing with the decision that was made. You know, it's one thing 2, 3 years after, but 15, 20 years after, you see things differently, you're experiencing life differently, and there's the pain of the secret that is there. I remember my dad was that song, Papa was a rolling stone, na, na,
Yeah.
na. And I remember being at his funeral, and his, his partner, who did not want to recognize me as his daughter, nor recognize that my mother was married to him. And I have another brother and sister by, I can't even think of her name right now, forgive me. But she and my dad never got married. My dad only married my mom. And so my uncles and aunts on my father's side tell me literally that my dad had made his transition. And we don't have one obituary, we have two. Two obituaries.
Yeah.
As my uncles and aunts said, the one that almost called her name, the one that she had, it did mention me as his daughter. Thank you. It did mention his other kids because I had other siblings. An older sister, Vicky, that had made her transition, and she was a glue that helped us kids start to connect. And then there was Heidi and Herschel Jr. But she didn't mention my mom. And so the other obituary, which was all at the service. And so there's a point in the service where we were at a mortuary. There's a point where there's some silence and the door opens. And I kid you not, everybody on the front row, family, we all turned to look because no one wanted to say it out loud, but we were all thinking, oh my God, here comes another family. Here comes another woman saying that she.
Oh God, it's amazing. It's so amazing. One of the things I appreciate about the conversation that we're having is this is the first time that I see so clearly that it was the secret that was the pain. it's like, is there something wrong with me that I had to be kept secret? And I had never really, I've always treated it more like, well, what are you? And
Yeah.
not knowing, well, how do I answer that question? But it really, the pain had to do with the secret about me, and I got that with my siblings. So I know we're related because that's the only thing we shared that was common. Like, yeah, what the hell was that all about?
So let me ask you this as we get ready to wind up. The state that we're in now, the all of the anger, the frustration, the violence. You yourself being someone that I'm sure at different times verbally may have been accosted. What would you want to say to America to help mend some bridges to the secret? It's like it's a secret that we're all different colors. And everybody, it's like, oh my God, you're black and you're different from me. Or oh my God, you're Puerto Rican. Or oh my God, you're Hispanic. This secret that's not a secret, that we are all different shades and we have different cultures. And that's the beauty of us. What would you want to say to maybe a young person that's growing up that is biracial, trying to find out who and what they are or where they belong? What would you want to say to them?
That's a great question. I would want to say that one, uh, who you are as a human being is the same as every other human being. We all love, we all hurt, we all grow, that our sameness is greater than our difference. And up until now, we valued difference.
Mm.
And that what I see occurring is it's time to value sameness, not in terms of skin color, but in terms of who and what we are internally. Because there's one thing that I know is we're all the same.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, we are, the human experience is the same internally, and it's just this external that says, "Oh no, 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 not you. You're not the same as me."
Exactly.
And for me, the most important journey that I'm on right now is to appreciate and look for and see the sameness, even in those that right now I could really pop. You know, it's it's really developing the skill to see, that person over there is just like me in here, and is there anything I can do to support that coming out?
That is beautiful. And I believe that that's um, a consciousness, a life that we're birthing into. I really
Yes.
do. That
Yeah.
this opportunity that we have right now. I was talking with someone earlier, and they were saying, "But it's so ugly," and I said,
Yeah.
I have. I'm not one that has given birth, but I've had friends that have, and some have. Uh, uh,
I had to plug in my headset for a moment.
oh, okay, no worries.
Yeah.
I was saying, talking with a friend earlier today about the birthing that's taking place in the world. And
Yes.
he was saying, but it's so painful, and it's so ugly. And I said, I have not had children, but I have friends that have had. And some friends, one of my friends, her birth was like that. But I had a couple of friends that the labor was really hard. I don't
Yeah.
think we have to have forever labor, but this birthing that's taking place is real. And
Yes, it is.
you have birthed a lot to be able to be in the space that you're in right now in such love and such joy. Is there any story that you want to share that you're ready to release that maybe you have not?
Oh, there's got to be one.
It doesn't have to be. Because I love how open and your heart is. And, a lot of people would have a lot of anger and a lot of self hatred. And you hear the love that you have for
Well, this,
yourself.
yeah, but the when this all started, this especially with George Floyd, my self-hatred became very clear to me.
Hmm.
I don't think I knew how much I didn't know which part of me I hated the most. And that was my initial breakdown. I did a lot
Hmm.
of crying to see that I had already taken on racism about myself.
Yeah.
Never
Yeah.
mind racist about others, but racist about myself. And the minute that I began to see that and begin to heal it, I feel a wholeness that I haven't had before. Because I saw I hated being white and I hated being black,
Wow.
and that those two things have been battling for a long time, and my racism about both resided in me. It's like, man, this is too crazy. But I experienced being a racist internally, and that's been the biggest thing in the last 6 months that has shifted for me. Is I love who I am, and I don't have to be concerned with what I am.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's a sweet shift for me.
I love
Yeah.
that. Beth Ann, this has been a beautiful time, and I want to thank you for opening your heart and being so candid and just sharing your love and your beautiful family. They are
Thank you.
fantastic. 13. People just
13.
don't do it like that anymore. My grandmother and grandfather. My grandfather came from a family of 14 brothers and sisters, and my grandmother, 13 brothers and sisters. And just a whole nother world. And that family love is beautiful.
Mm,
And I'm so
it
glad
is.
that you are experiencing your family and that they are
Thank you.
loving you up because you are a adorable love muffin. And I thank you.
Well, thank you. I thank you for seeing that I could share what I had to share. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
You know,
Peace and blessings.
same to you. Bye bye.
Bye, my love. Oh, how fabulous. It is our conscious giving time. What a beautiful, beautiful night and such a beautiful spirit. I want to say thank you to each and every one of you at Universal Spirit Center for continuously giving, for participating in keeping this center going and the things that we are doing and all of the wonderful organizations that we're able to help and reach out and do. It's all because of what you give to us. So I thank you so much for giving to that which you believe is true, that this world, that this life, that you are co-creating and that you are part of, making it a bigger, greater, grander space. Thank you, God. Thank you, God, for everything. 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 Oh, I want to thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you. Thank you. Thank you, God, for everything. 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 So I want to let you know all of the wonderful things that we have going on at Universal Spirit Center. We have the presence process with Darmini. That's right. If you haven't signed up yet, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? What are you waiting on? This is an amazing journey. And in this time, we need all the tools that we can to help us move through the birthing canal and to live in the greater expression of who we are. We have wonderful things that are taking place on the Racial Equality Project. Vote, vote, vote. Also, go online, buy some Black Lives Matter product. Help support. And also, it shows that you support the movement. You can get a t-shirt, a hat, get a yard sign, all that good stuff. Go to the web page. You go to our web page, universalspiritcenter.org. There are a lot of things going on. Please check it out. See us on Sunday on Facebook, YouTube, and on our webpage. And if you haven't signed up on our YouTube page, what are you waiting for? Subscribe and hit that bell so you'll know we have a lot of new product that's coming out. So we are bringing new tools and spiritual practices to you to feed, to grow, and to nourish. So stay in touch. Share everywhere you go. Share us so that we can reach beyond the walls. We can reach beyond the ram. And we can reach those who are looking to be reached. So I thank you so much for being here tonight. Know that you are loved and appreciated. I thank again Darmini behind the scenes, Sarah, and lovely Linda, which we didn't have any picture tonight of Linda. We'll take care of that for next week. You better know it. And Jonas Simon will be with us on Awakening Wednesday, next Wednesday, and you don't want to miss that. So give thanks for your life. Give thanks for who you are. Give thanks for this day. For all is magnificent within you. Thank you, God, for everything. 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 Have a great week. We'll see you on Sunday.